It's architect, precise. You know the shot, keep it going. New York, keep it going. We planning for the future while we living in the moment, though. So you don't stop. Peace and love, everybody. Welcome to the community conversation at the Just For You Center, located at 608 Johnson Avenue, Bohemia, New York, suite number 2. You can use the number on the screen to get in touch with us. We appreciate you liking, sharing the video, taking the time out to spend some time with us on this Saturday, March 9th for the community conversation. The subject matter for today is going to be, is hip-hop culture dangerous? And if so, to who? And what can we do to kind of start to fix that? So we're going to introduce our panelists, starting off on the left.
I go by the name of John Jakes, professional hip-hop artist, owner of Monopoly Music. That's about it, you know what I mean?
What's up in the shot? It's your boy Lo. Artist, media personality, actor, all around culture, advocate. You know, got the radio show, the All-Star Show, I'm 1/3 of that. Got the podcast with Brittany Marie, the Ask Me a Question podcast. I'm a part of that. You know, I've had some acting roles, had some music out there, new music coming soon. And, you know, I'm always up for a conversation about the culture. Appreciate y'all having me.
Brittany Marie. I'm the journalist and content reporter for On My Free Time TV. I also have my own YouTube channel. I have a segment called Building with Brittany Marie where I interview celebrities. We're on the topic of rap and hip-hop tonight, so some rappers or hip-hop artists I've interviewed: Rakim, Styles P, Prodigy, and I also, like Lo said, have the Ask Me a Question podcast starring me and him.
It's your girl Imani Kyrie, CEO of Hip Step Massive. Shouts out to all my funky aliens around the world. Artist, host, performer, everything. Funky alien herself, and daughter of Grandmaster TC Islam.
So, I want to welcome all the panelists. I want to thank everybody that's checking in on the live so far. What's up, Dave? The subject for tonight, brothers and sisters, is hip-hop culture dangerous? And I kind of want to preface the subject matter by saying, if so, to who? Because we've seen, depending on the era that you come up with, groups, hip-hop groups like 2 Live Crew, for example. We're all familiar with 2 Live Crew. Uncle Luke, shouts out to Uncle Luke in Miami. And, you know, is hip-hop culture dangerous, and to who? So, when Luke went to court for, for the copyright thing, we seen that was a religious outreach. Like the religious community, if you go back and look at some of that footage now, you'll see that it was like a real heavy religious community, and the community at large felt like this was attacking their children. So in today's music, even though he won that case, do you guys see, and I guess whoever wants to jump out and kind of tackle this first, but do you think much has changed since the earlier days of people feeling threatened by hip-hop culture? So yeah, we can start with Jake.
I think that people have opened up to hip hop a lot more probably since those days. I think that a lot of what maybe 2 Live Crew and Luke were doing at that time is probably mild compared to what's going on right now. And I think people open up more. I think probably in a better. I don't think people feel quite so threatened anymore by the culture. Maybe certain people, but I think we've gotten to a point where, I think they're saying that right now hip hop is the most streamed genre of music right now, out of all time. Like we're the leading as far as money that comes into the music industry. Hip hop is, you know what I'm saying, the bulk of that. So I feel like we probably, maybe some of the actual music may not be what everybody wants it to be, but probably the most money is being generated. I don't know who's getting it, but the most money is probably being generated right now at this point, and that's kind of crazy.
I think just to piggyback off of that, I do agree. I think the shock value has worn off. I don't think there's, you've pretty much seen the head to tail of pretty much every celebrity now, and the shock value has worn off, and the people that are making the money is the industry. So I don't think there is much of a problem with it anymore. People talk about it, but again, it's so streamed and it's mass media now that people aren't shocked by it anymore.
First of all, rest in peace, Biggie Smalls. This is March 9th. It's on the right.
Baby.
And if you look at a lot of the things that happened with the whole Biggie Tupac thing, it was sensationalized by the media.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
So the media had a hand in that beef getting escalated, and then
Absolutely.
what
Agreed.
transpired, what both of them transpired with them. My
Absolutely.
personal opinion about hip hop in general is hip hop necessarily dangerous? I think hip hop is no different than any form of entertainment, whether it's video games, boxing, sports, movies, what have you. It's just the fact that I feel like what's dangerous is the fact that hip hop culture is envied by races outside of who started it, which is black culture. Black culture started hip hop. So the fact that there's power and influence, you're seeing the possibilities of the Diddy's and certain people to buy sports franchises and everything. So we're starting to see little glimpses of if people in power putting their money together and what that can be for our culture alone.
Yeah.
So I think it's just and not to cut you off. What's dangerous in hip hop is the fact that we have the power to maybe potentially influence us to go in the direction that we've been wanting to go through as a people for the longest. They don't want to see us united. They don't want to see us influencing each other to boss up in a certain type of way, which is what hip hop has.
I think we've transitioned from a time where hip hop was dangerous because you had two rivals like West Coast, East Coast, and rappers were beefing. There's still beef, but not so much physical. I think we've transitioned to a time where like lyrics and what you do on social media is dangerous in hip hop because it's getting them incriminated. I.e., you have Meek Mill's riding the bike and violating probation, getting sent back to jail. I.e., you have 6ix9ine rapping about the stuff that he does and getting sent to jail. I think they're starting to hold them. The legal system is holding them accountable, and that's what's dangerous about the culture. What they're rapping about, they're trying to live it, and that's what's incriminating. Not so much the rival between West Coast, East Coast, or two rappers. I don't think that's what used to be dangerous about hip hop music is not dangerous about hip
I
hop.
think
music.
rap and hip hop is two different things nowadays.
Well,
I don't
I'm
know
glad
if
you
it's-
brought that up, sis. Before we
Definitely do.
go further, and I want to kind of make a distinction about something. So, when we talk about danger, right? We seen in the early '90s, we had an influence of, and I'll say African American influence. We had this drive to go back to Africa. We had X Clan, we had Brand Nubian, we had this, and I was listening to some of their material, even J. Rue the Damager, which is a little later than the era I'm talking about, but there was this requirement in hip hop to be intellectual, to expand your vocabulary.
Agreed.
Now, my question to you guys as panelists is kind of two-part. Do you guys see that kind of has left the culture, the intellectual side of it, and who does it benefit? Who would that be dangerous to? Because obviously it's dangerous. You know, we know it goes without saying that if you're not developing your vocabulary, you're probably gonna have poor speaking skills outside of school. I'm saying we were doing that, having a dictionary to rhyme with outside of
Right.
school hours. So my question is to you guys in whichever order is who does that serve and who do y'all think that was dangerous to? That they would want to make that switch like that? Because we seen groups, like I said, getting us, to stop eating pork, getting us to put the guns down. You have to stop the violence movement. So, who do y'all see benefits from us losing those things in the culture?
The
I
mumble
think
rappers.
the industry is actually winning. Just to backtrack off of that, the industry is winning because there was a time when we were being called kings and queens, and I still do that. Y'all see how I came in, peace. You know what I'm saying? But that's the culture that I came up in. Not everybody is raised like that, so it does start within the household. But again, there was a time, even the Lauryn Hill times, because that's my girl. There was a time where women were being called queens and being glorified. You know what I'm saying? There was a time where we actually put a lot of the responsibility on our kings, like this is the man of the house. That switched when we let the industry take hold and take our benefits. When we started signing those contracts and not being smart about what we were signing. You know what I'm saying? We signed over a lot of our rights and